What if somebody already knew? What if years before the files dropped, before the lawsuits, before the arrests, one woman had all of it, sat on all of it, and then, the moment she tried to let it out, she disappeared?
This business is so disgusting that I can't.
Because that's exactly what happened to Wendy Williams.
His pregnancy is a way of keeping Jay-Z's alleged mistress away. Beyonce is going to use a surrogate so she can maintain her body, but they're going to play it off like it's allegedly, like they gave birth.
She said all of this on daytime television, in broad daylight, and nobody protected her for it.
I have 3 victims right now who are willing to give testimony about not only what Mr. Carter has done to them, but his wife as well. They're a nasty little couple. They do nasty things.
But here's what nobody is connecting, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The internet has been going wild over Beyonce and Jay-Z's names appearing in the Epstein files. But buried underneath all of that noise is a rumor that has been quietly circulating in certain corners of the internet. A rumor about a child, a rumor about an island, and a rumor that connects directly to everything Wendy Williams has been trying to tell us for years. Stay with me, because this one goes deep. Before we get to the rumor the internet cannot stop talking about, we need to give credit where it is absolutely due. Because the woman who started pulling this thread years before any of us were ready to hear it was Wendy Williams. Now, some of y'all might look at Wendy differently depending on the day. But here's what you cannot dispute. That woman had sources, real sources, industry insiders who fed her actual receipts with actual proof. And she was bold enough to say things on mainstream television that nobody else would dare touch. Let's go back to 2011, the moment that cracked everything open. Beyonce is at the Video Music Awards, glowing, bump out, announcing her pregnancy to the world. The crowd loses their mind. Blue Ivy is supposedly on the way. It was a beautiful moment. Until it wasn't. Because right there on national television, that baby bump folded. It crumpled. And the whole world watched it happen in real time. Now Beyonce's team scrambled. They pushed out bikini photos faster than you could blink, trying to do damage control. But the photos they used, baby, those looked like what any of us look like after a heavy Thanksgiving dinner. It wasn't convincing. And Wendy was not convinced.
His pregnancy is a way of keeping Jay-Z's alleged mistress away. Beyonce is going to use a surrogate so she can maintain her body, but they're going to play it off like it's allegedly, like they gave birth.
What made this moment extraordinary wasn't just what Wendy said, it's what she said next. Because Wendy didn't just talk about the surrogate theory, she brought up a name that the mainstream media absolutely refused to touch at the time. Kathy White. Now, for those in the back who don't know, Kathy White was Jay-Z's pregnant mistress who died under what many people consider deeply suspicious circumstances. An aneurysm, just like that, gone. And Wendy, who had been in this industry long enough to know how these things work, went on her show and said what a lot of people were only whispering. The theory, and again, this is what was being said publicly, and was that Kathy White wasn't just Jay-Z's mistress. She was allegedly the surrogate carrying Blue Ivy, and when she served her purpose, she was gone.
Jay-Z's pregnant mistress, who died of an imaginary fucking aneurysm. Just like the woman who was best friends with Kim and Kimura, who wrote the book Bling and died as soon as it made the bestsellers list.
The pattern Wendy was pointing to wasn't subtle. Women who got too close to the wrong people, who knew too much, who carried too much, they had a funny habit of disappearing or dying at extremely convenient moments. And Wendy was loud enough to say it, which is probably exactly why someone made sure Wendy went quiet. Now fast forward to today, because what happened next is what sent the entire internet into a spiral and brought everything Wendy ever said roaring back. The DOJ drops the Epstein files. First batch, second batch, third batch, and with each drop, the names get bigger. The first wave had people focused on Jay-Z. According to an anonymous victim who contacted the FBI, she claimed she woke up in a room with Jay-Z present while Harvey Weinstein was assaulting her, and that's bad enough on its own. But the internet wasn't going to let Beyonce hide in Jay-Z's shadow, because when that third batch of files dropped, Beyonce's name was right there.
Why is nobody understanding that Dream Hampton was being financed and ran by Sean Carter? They were able to go and get all of these witnesses because he was there with Robert Kelly. How does Jay-Z sit down
with Gayle King and she not ask him one question about the intersection between him and Aaliyah and Robert Kelly?
And see, that's the thing about these files. They don't exist in isolation. They exist inside a web of relationships. Jay-Z and Diddy, Jay-Z and R. Kelly, Jay-Z and Epstein. And every single time a new connection surfaces, the internet asks the same question. Where was Beyoncé in all of this? Was she really just standing in the background being oblivious? Or was she part of the infrastructure? Because that word, infrastructure, is important. This wasn't just wealthy people throwing parties. People who were paying attention were saying something much darker.
Picture that is becoming more and more clear is that we aren't just looking at a bunch of wealthy creeps operating with total impunity. We are looking at a massive criminal network that may be responsible for the of hundreds of
women. That's the scale people were putting on this. And in the middle of all of it, the Epstein connection, the Diddy connection, the R. Kelly connection, there was Beyoncé, not on the fringes, right in the center. Now let's talk about some of the specific allegations that started coming out alongside the files, because this is where things get genuinely unnerving. You remember her song 16 Carriages? People started digging into the lyrics with a very different lens after her name appeared in the files. The internet, and again, I'm telling you what people online are saying, not making personal claims, was drawing a line between that song and the number of pregnancies Beyoncé has publicly discussed losing. Now look, I'm not here to tell you what to believe about a song, but what I will tell you is that when people are already suspicious, every lyric becomes evidence, every metaphor becomes a confession. And Beyoncé, who has built an entire artistic identity around cryptic visual albums and layered symbolism, has given people plenty of material to work with. And speaking of songs, let's talk about Daughter from the Cowboy Carter album released in 2024.
It's potentially a murder confession about Jay-Z's mistress, Kathy White.
The internet ran with that one hard, because if Kathy White was allegedly carrying Blue Ivy as a surrogate, and if what happened to Kathy was not an accident, then a song called Daughter carries a weight that most people aren't ready to sit with. Alright, this is the part you've been waiting for, and I need you to understand. What I'm about to walk you through is a rumor. It is speculation being driven by people online who have been connecting dots across years of stories, public statements, and leaked information. I'm presenting it the way the internet is presenting it. Make of it what you will. So, the Epstein files. Everyone focused on the names, but people who went deeper, who actually read through the documents rather than just the headlines, started flagging something else. The island, specifically the kinds of activities that allegedly happened at Little St. James, and the question of who was there, how often, and what, or who, they brought with them. And that's where this rumor starts, because circulating in certain online communities right now is a claim that not only were Jay-Z and Beyoncé connected to Epstein's world, but that there is a child, a son, a boy who allegedly was born in circumstances directly tied to these island networks. The name being whispered, Raymir Carter. Now, Jay-Z has a son who is publicly known to be from a relationship outside his marriage. That son is Jaden. But the internet is saying, and this is the rumor, that there is another one, that Raymir Carter is Jay-Z's biological son, that his birth is connected to the island, and that the reason almost nobody in mainstream media will touch this story is because the people who would need to report it are the same people who've been protecting Jay-Z for decades. Think about the pattern they're pointing to. Kathy White, allegedly connected to Blue Ivy's birth, dies under suspicious circumstances and is never properly investigated. Wendy Williams, the one person bold enough to put Kathy White's name in the air on mainstream television, ends up incapacitated, her guardianship stripped away, her ability to speak publicly severely limited, and now this rumor about Raymir sits in a similar shadow, real enough that people know the name, suppressed enough that nobody with a platform will say it out loud.
What the f was these people supposed to go to? You can't go to the boss because the boss is f***ing you. And the boss's boss don't get no Can't go to the authorities. They're all bought and paid for.
That monologue hits differently when you apply it to this rumor, because who do you go to when the person you're accusing owns the relationships that would normally protect you? Who do you call? The FBI? Jay-Z had lawyers who could make calls disappear. The media? Jay-Z's Rock Nation had partnerships with media companies. Social media? Accounts that pushed this story found themselves flagged and removed. And Wendy Williams, who had the receipts, who had the sources, who had been saying for years that Jay-Z and Beyoncé were not who they presented themselves to be publicly. She ended up in a conservatorship situation situation that many people found deeply suspicious in its timing. Because here's the thing, the timing of Wendy's decline is a conversation we need to have. Because Wendy had been getting louder, she had been connecting more dots publicly, and then, seemingly out of nowhere, she was gone. Her show ended, her health deteriorated. She was declared to have dementia by people who had financial control over her, and her ability to speak freely evaporated. Now, was that a coincidence? The internet doesn't think so. And given everything we now know about how this industry operates, given the documented history of powerful people silencing those who threaten to expose them, it is not a crazy question to ask. Wendy knew about Diddy long before the raids. She knew about Epstein's connections in the industry. She knew about Kathy White. And the internet believes she knew something about the island, about what happened there, and maybe about Raymir. Now, here's where the rumor gets more fuel, because it doesn't exist in isolation. There are multiple public figures who have made statements, on record, on camera, that feed directly into this broader narrative. Let's start with Larry Johnson, Jay-Z's former close friend. The man who says he watched a friendship with Jay-Z fall apart right around the time he started speaking openly about who pulls the strings in the entertainment world. And he's on the record about a party in Colorado, a party hosted by the Carters, where things weren't right.
Now, I did a Rockaware photo shoot in Colorado, and I think it was during the winter time of 06 or 07. And Naomi Campbell was there, actress Jamie King was there, Jay was there, B was there, and he rented this house. And we were supposed to do this rap party for this photo shoot. We rented this house, and we were watching LeBron play. And after the game, it had to be like 10 or 11 o'clock. So we getting ready to party. Mind you, it's all adults, which I could respect that. So when 11 o'clock hit, we turned on the music, we started drinking, and then out of nowhere came these young I don't know where they came from. For a rap party at 11 o'clock at night, drinking, loud music, and us dancing wild, like, I don't know where these kids came from. And then I happened to sit down because I was dancing with one of the assistants. And I sat next to this child, and the child sat next to Beyonce. So I hear B say something about, doesn't this look or isn't this? And my
Larry says he didn't fully process it in the moment. The liquor took hold and he left, but those kids remained. And that memory, he says, is why he can't fully dismiss the allegations that have come out since. Then there's Jaguar Wright, who sat on Piers Morgan's show and made allegations that nearly got her sued, who specifically said that Beyonce had something to do with Aaliyah's death.
People on planes while they're unconscious, just like Aaliyah got on that plane. Unconscious.
Now, Aaliyah, people have been trying to connect this thread for years. The theory has always been that Jay-Z was pursuing Aaliyah romantically, sending flowers, inviting her to parties, and she wanted nothing to do with him. Dame Dash himself confirmed that Jay-Z was trying to pursue something with Aaliyah, and she wasn't interested. And then she's gone, put on a plane she allegedly had no intention of boarding, given a sedative she didn't know she was taking, and that was the end of Aaliyah. And Beyonce, who many people believe benefited most from Aaliyah's absence, who went on to occupy the throne Aaliyah was positioned to claim, has never been asked about any of it. Not directly, not seriously. Then there's MIA, who sat down in 2024 and said that Jay-Z and Beyonce pushed her to participate in satanic rituals. That when she signed to Roc Nation, the very first thing Jay-Z told her was to get plastic surgery.
I didn't want to drip myself in blood and cover myself and swim in goop, in black goop, and fucking like wear devil horns to fucking sell a record. Fuck that.
That's a direct quote from an artist describing what she says she was pressured to do, and she explicitly said she wasn't willing to do it, which raises the question, what about the people who were? And then there's Cat Williams, who has been collecting receipts for 30 years by his own admission.
30 years I've done nothing but collect information, knowledge, and your secrets. So if you and a man was in a corner doing something you wasn't supposed to be.
Kat also described in vivid detail watching Hollywood's biggest names shuttle up to private parties in the hills and watching them come back down hours later looking, in his words, sad, oily, walking different, shoelaces untied, laced. People who study trafficking patterns say those are consistent behavioral markers of what survivors look like immediately after an assault. And Cat Williams was watching this play out with his own eyes from a parking lot for years. Now here's what's interesting. Because while all of this is swirling, the files, the rumors, the witnesses, a blind item started making the rounds from someone claiming to be close to Beyonce's inner circle. And the details in it line up eerily well with what Storm Monroe has been saying publicly for a while. The blind item claimed that Beyonce Beyoncé has threatened to flee the country multiple times, that her team is terrified of losing control of her, that she has been under enormous psychological pressure from both her mother Tina and Jay-Z, that she knows what happens to people who try to break free from this world, and that she's been quietly making moves, financial moves, geographical moves to set up an exit.
For the reason why they're already living separate lives, and we may actually see one of the biggest divorces in Hollywood, is because Jay-Z is up next to be exposed. And it's only so much of these stories that Jay-Z can, he can pay off or he can block. He won't be able to stop this. And she knows it, and he knows it too.
Storm Monroe said it plain. The divorce is coming, not because the love ran out, but because the exposure is coming. And Beyoncé, who has spent her entire career controlling her image with military precision, is not about to let Jay-Z's reckoning become her reckoning if she can help it. But here's the twist. The internet is saying it might be too late, because if the Raymir Carter rumor has any substance, if there is truly a child connected to these island networks and connected to Jay-Z's bloodline, then Beyoncé divorcing Jay-Z doesn't remove her from the story. It just repositions her in it. And 50 Cent, who has been trolling Jay-Z relentlessly since the files dropped, seems to be warming up for something bigger. 50 Cent did to Diddy what nobody else would do. He turned a rumor into a documentary. He turned whispers into receipts, and now he's circling Jay-Z with the same energy. The internet is watching and waiting. DL Hughley said something recently that cut through all the noise in a way that I think deserves a moment.
What you decide to stand up for or politically align yourself with is a window into your soul.
And he's right, because Beyoncé has had the biggest platform in music for 20 years. She has spoken out on racial justice, she has spoken out on police brutality, she positioned herself as a champion for black women in particular. And yet, on Epstein, on Diddy, on all of it, she has been completely, totally, eerily silent. Silence can be protection, but silence can also be complicity. And the internet has moved firmly into the latter interpretation. Because here's what we know. Jay-Z's name is in the Epstein files. Beyoncé's name is in the Epstein files. Both of them have documented relationships with Diddy going back decades. Witnesses have placed them at parties where things weren't right. A rumor is circulating about a child connected to these networks, and the one woman who had been saying all of this for years, Wendy Williams, has been effectively silenced. That's not a coincidence to the people watching. That's a pattern. So here's what I need from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Do you think Wendy Williams was silenced because of what she knew about the Carters? Do you think the Raymir Carter rumor has legs? Or is this internet speculation running wild? And do you believe Beyoncé is already planning her exit? Or is she more locked into this world than she wants us to think? Because one thing is clear, the files are still dropping, the witnesses are still talking, and whatever has been buried, it is coming up. Comment below, subscribe if you're new, and click the video on your screen right now, because trust me, that one connects even more dots.